Hi, I'm going to talk about learning as it relates to making changes. Learning has been described or defined as the process of acquiring knowledge and the application of that knowledge. See, learning is not just about acquiring knowledge, it's also about applying that knowledge to change behavior or mindset of an individual. Now, the Gestalt psychologists described the learning process as an alteration of consciousness and competence. Now, I'm not talking about consciousness in terms in a situation where they have to call the doctor. No, this is making a distinction between our background knowledge and our foreground knowledge. Now, our background knowledge refers to things that we know and apply without necessarily thinking about it. We just know how to do something and we do it without being conscious of the fact that we're applying the knowledge of doing that thing. Our foreground consciousness refers to a situation where we have to think about doing something before we do it. I hope you understand the difference. Okay, there are different realms in which we could apply knowledge or demonstrate our learning. Uh, and I'll be describing this in using an example. Okay, so there could be a familiar realm where it's something you already know how to do, and then there could be a new realm where you're learning to do something new. And that new realm could be entirely new, or it's something you're familiar with, but there's something different. There's an addition which forces you to learn to experience that realm in a new way. So I'll give you the example of navigation, which I personally experience every time I change location. When I move to a new area, I usually have to use my map to navigate. And I'm constantly staring at the map, trying to figure out where to go next, which is completely different from where I was coming from. When I've lived in a place for many years, I get used to the surroundings. I don't need a map. I don't even have to think about how to get to where I'm going. In that new environment, though, I have to use a map, and I'm consciously thinking about where to go and how to get there. Right, and I observe that slowly, as I use the map repeatedly, I need it less and less. As I get more familiar with the new environment, I don't need the map anymore, and I'm more comfortable to navigate and not be anxious about getting lost. I hope that explains the difference between an old realm and a new realm. Okay? And in that scenario, my consciousness there is whether or not I have to think about how to do what I want to do. And my competence there is the feeling I get, or that anxiety I described, is when I'm not familiar with that surrounding, I have to think about it, and there's an anxiety of getting lost. What if my phone runs out of power and I can't navigate with the map anymore? You see, those feelings of discomfort are your incompetence, and whether or not you are conscious of what you are doing describes your consciousness. So if you are doing something and you have to think about it and you're not comfortable doing it, you're not confident in doing it, that describes a situation of conscious incompetence. Right? And learning, the ultimate goal of learning, the end of the cycle is when you get to a point of unconscious competence, where you're back to the state where you don't have to think about doing something that you know how to do and you do it confidently. Right? So I'll run through it again. It starts at um, conscious incompetence, where you don't know how to do something and you're very conscious of the fact that you don't, and you're trying to learn how to do it. And as time goes on, with repetition, you learn how to do it and you become competent, and to the point where you don't have to think about how to do it. Now, there's a different way this cycle could start. It could also be a situation where you don't know how to do something and you're completely unaware that you don't know how to do that thing, meaning you are completely unaware of the existence of that realm. You see the difference? Now, in that situation, you have unconscious incompetence. You don't know how to do the thing, and you're not even aware of the existence of the knowledge of doing that thing. So, that's another interesting way the learning cycle can start, where you go from either not knowing that something exists and you want to learn it, or knowing it exists and you want to learn it anyway. Either way, with time and repetition and practice, you reach a point of unconscious competence.